women are so magical. We're like these witches. We have these 4 different parts in our cycle. If you have good energy, good sleep, I think for men and women, sleep is probably one of the number one indicators of good health. Fit your nutrition according to your cycle as well is important. So if you have like a lot of hunger cravings, that could mean that maybe you're not fueling your body the right way during that part of your cycle. Maybe your hormones are off balance. The first day is day 3 of your cycle.
Our guest today on the Settle or Be Better podcast is Sabrina Brown, a biohacker who helps women navigate through health and longevity. So welcome, Sabrina, and over to you. Why don't you begin by telling us a little bit about your personal health and well-being story and your current work?
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. I'm excited to talk to you because I think that women really need to get better at understanding our bodies so that we can thrive healthiest version of ourselves. So for myself, I started this journey because family of mine that were in the medical background, so they were always trying to be healthy, and then my sister unfortunately was sick, so health was always at the fore for us, and the most important thing, right? Because if you're not healthy, it doesn't matter how rich you are, how successful you are, you just won't feel good and you won't be able to live your life to the fullest. So I think the health is like the most important pillar in your life, and then you can build everything else from there.
Absolutely.
So I've always loved to research about healthy practices, workouts. I've been very active starting in my 20s. I wasn't like this before, but I really put in the work, and I was actually vegan for 7 years. It did really work well for me. I think it works well for a lot of people, but since our bodies are constantly changing, especially as women, sometimes you kind of grow out of it, right? So I was listening to my body. My body was not absorbing nutrients. I was very skinny last year, did not feel good, and my intuition just told me that I need to make a switch. I need to incorporate animal protein again, and it's been almost a year now. It's coming up to 10 months, and I can see a huge difference in my body composition. So I've been able to weight gain. Body fat is so important for women, right? A lot of women don't realize that we need to have this little belly pouch to protect our reproductive organs. We need to have, a good amount of fat percentage if we want to be fertile, if we want to have babies, right? Fat is not the enemy here, actually. In moderation, of course. So building muscle is super important. You need fats as well for that. I just feel also my skin is better, my energy levels are better. I just feel more like myself again since I incorporated meat. And it was a tough decision because, of course, being vegan was very much a choice because I see the suffering of the animals and the effect it has on the planet. But for me, the choice came, how can I show up for other people if I don't show up for myself and I don't take accountability and help myself first before helping others? It's kind of like that saying in the airplane, right? Help yourself first before you help other people.
Absolutely. That makes so much sense. Thank you for sharing that with us. It's an interesting story, and we're so grateful to have you on the podcast today and to discuss so many things, and more specifically to women's health, because you talk so much about it and you really do embody it as well through your Instagram and through your lifestyle currently, right? So to begin with, what are some good indicators of great health for women? To begin with, specifically, what is the area of focus for you when you say that, I want to achieve great health or I want to sustain great health?
So I think the biggest pillar is hormone health, which I've been focusing on in the past few months. I've kind of always brushed it off. Oh, hormones, what do they even matter, right? But actually they're incorporated in everything, in how our bodies function. Women are so magical. We're like these witches. We have these 4 different parts in our cycle. And if we can live according to our cycle, then we will thrive. So I think if you have, regular cycles is an amazing indicator of good health. If you have good energy, good sleep, I think for men and women, sleep is probably one of the number one indicators of good health. If you have regular good sleeps, because your body is constantly healing itself during sleep, right? This is very restorative, very important. So trying to have a similar sleep schedule every night, trying to have a bedtime routine as well, where, you try to avoid the blue light and kind of wind down, tell your body, it's time to get ready for sleep, because sometimes when you're on your phone and you're, scrolling, you just get these like cortisol spikes. And what we want is to definitely try and lower the cortisol in the evening. What else can we say about women's health? I think nutrition and trying to fit your nutrition according to your cycle as well is important. So if you have like a lot of hunger cravings, that could mean that maybe you're not fueling your body the right way during that part of your cycle. Maybe your hormones are off balance. So I think for every woman, if you have the opportunity to get a hormone test, this makes such a big difference, because then you can see what needs kind of altering, what you can change, what you need to work on. I recently did a hormone test myself, and I have seen some things that I definitely can work on. Also, very good reminder that I didn't know this, but if you do a hormone test, make sure it is one that you do twice. The first day is day 3 of your cycle. And then the second test to test your progesterone levels is going to be on day 22 of your cycle, day 22, 23. And that way you can get accurate results for estrogen and progesterone. I would recommend that.
Understood. These are some great pointers, definitely, to begin with, and some of these we can start being mindful of, as early as in our 20s. It's the need of the hour, because a lot of women have started having, hormonal health issues in their late 20s. Like my friends who are in the early 20s also have such severe hormonal issues right now that they have trouble going to work, or so many issues, and people don't understand at work that you may be suffering from these things because they don't see it happening outside on the body that much, right? Oh, well, why do you need that? But then it should be a lot more awareness around this, definitely from an early age, because of the lifestyle today and the things that we are exposed to since a very younger age, right? So thank you for sharing that. It makes so much sense. And talked a little bit about it, but to go a little deeper into it is how you talk about, basically modifying your schedule, like your lifestyle around your menstrual cycle. Because I wish we would have been taught this in school, because
Same. I'm so frustrated because how did I only learn about this at age 30?
Exactly.
Like, come on. If we would have learned this when we were 12, 13, 14, wow, can you imagine what a difference that would have made in our life?
We would be thriving.
So that's why I'm so passionate about like sharing this information, because I want more women to find this out earlier.
Right. So how is it that, a basic understanding of it, because I mean, not everybody would start out at a peak biohacker level to
Of course.
sort of, manage their whole life around it. If they have maybe 2 jobs or something more, or more finances to take care of. But what are the basics that we can begin with to basically optimize our energy throughout the month, and maybe try as much as possible to organize our schedule in a way that we show up as the best selves in the best phase of a cycle, or where we can tap into our peak performance without letting our health, take us down in some other way?
Absolutely. Okay, so to break it down super simple, let's start at the very beginning of your cycle, which means you're menstruating, right? So day 1 is the day that you start menstruating. And this is an amazing time for you just to take things slow. It's kind of called your inner winter. So in winter, right, we go slower, we bundle up, we get cozy. So during this time, I would say focus on going inward. So you could do a little bit of self-reflection. You could do, in terms of movement, you want to stretch. You want to maybe do some walking, some light walking, light jogging. Yoga is really good. Low impact exercises, right? Because you still want to keep things moving in your body, but you don't want to go at high intensity. So if you're into strength training, you can still do some resistance training during this time, but very low weights. Yeah, just take it easy. Your body will always tell you how far you can push it. And in terms of, nutrition during menstruation, I would say focus on like warm, nourishing foods that support your womb and your reproductive organs. So you want to have iron-rich foods. You want to have maybe soups, broths, definitely protein protein. So focus on, if you can have red meat, that would be amazing. Try to avoid caffeine actually during menstruation because our cortisol is already naturally high during our menstruation. And, we're already can be a little bit agitated and a little bit stressed. So this is a time to maybe just either lower or get out of the caffeine bubble for a while. And then, after you finish your menstruation, the next part is called the follicular phase. So this is when estrogen is rising. You're starting to get more energy. This is a great time to incorporate work meetings, social events, to start new projects. You have this extra energy push. You can do some HIIT training during this time, some really good cardio. You can really push your body more during this phase because you'll feel that you just have naturally more energy, and you would want to focus on foods, kind of salads, raw fermented foods, maybe kimchi, sauerkraut, yogurts. Like, think this is like your inner spring. So just think of fresh foods, fish, these kind of things. You don't want to go too heavy during this time. For ovulation, which is next, this is like your peak. Like, this is like you're like feeling good, you're feeling sexy, you like your face is glowing, you just like look like, your body's preparing to have a baby during this time. So it's gonna like give you the best like glow and everything. And here you can go for it those days. You can ask for a raise, you feel confident, you're just like loving life, you're like main character energy. So yeah, this is the time to go for it in every single aspect of your life. And then after ovulation, this is like the last 2 weeks of your cycle before you get your period again. It's called the luteal phase. And this is gonna be your like fall, autumn. So you're preparing again for menstruation. So this is when you want to start to take it easier again because estrogen is kind of low, progesterone is rising, and here you want to, just kind of slow down a little bit, take it a little bit easier. This is when, you will get more food cravings as well. So make sure you are nourishing your body more during this time. It's normal for you to get more hungry. Your body needs more food because your metabolism is faster during this time of the month. So try to focus on foods like complex carbs. I love pumpkin, sweet potato, potatoes, rice. Try to avoid processed foods in general, but just try to incorporate more complex carbs during your luteal phase because it will keep you full for longer. And carbs could also include fruits, right? Fruits and veggies have carbs, so just eat more. It's normal. You're supposed to eat more during this time. And, you can still do your workouts, but just kind of feel and let your body tell you, okay, I've done enough, or take longer rest periods, while you're doing a workout as well. This can be helpful. Yeah, this is like, again, kind of a more cozy time. So probably you won't want to hang out as much with your friends, and that's okay. You want to like curl up and watch a movie, and that's okay too.
That was beautifully explained. Thank you so much for that. I mean, I feel like there should be a thumb rule for every woman to understand this and to basically plan out their life. It's possible, like when you have peak energy, when you feel like your best self in the month, and you can really turn things around with this, at least if not the whole month, but you can probably schedule some things around your ovulation phase or your follicular phase, where you do feel like you can give your best, be your best self at work or at home, or be there for your people. And it also gives you a great understanding of what is happening with you, because with women every other week it's like, what is happening? You don't know what is happening with your body or how your body functions. That can be so confusing even as early as your teens or as late as your 40s, because that's the question we always deal with as women in our life, right? So that was great, and I really hope that people start understanding this and the schools start incorporating this in the curriculum, because which is so important. Like, if you understood this from an early age, I mean, we would be thriving, right? So, thank you for sharing that. And talking about being in the biohacking space today, or just in general the fitness space, what are some things that you have seen that really do work for men but might not work as well for women, and has been taught very gender neutrally, or it's believed very gender neutrally? Like, one of the things that you spoke about is fat percentage. That's a big eye opener for women, right? Because live decades thinking about losing fat percentage because we want that.
Mhm.
And also how we see if our role models are athletes, people who have those, dashboard abs, they do not have, pouch on the stomach because that's how we feel if you're bloated or something like that.
Mhm.
Not idealistic for us when we grow up and look at that role model for the body for us, right? But we do know that to thrive and to also have regular menstrual cycles, to have good hormone health, it is important to have a certain level of fat percentage, and it is not healthy to sustain a very low fat percentage for a very long time. I mean, that could be a goal, a short-term goal some other time if we really want that in our life, or it was a goal at some point, but it's not sustainable in the long run. So what are some more such myths or such things that you see that do work for men but do not work for women?
Absolutely. I think this is so important to talk about because not only have most of these modalities not been tested on women, right? If you look at research studies, unfortunately, up until very recently, they have only been done on men or non-menstruating women because, they don't want to take into consideration all these different factors, our body, which fluctuates so much during the month. So I've done some research on female leaders in the space who have done their own research on this. And one of the things that I have seen is cold exposure. So, cold plunging, cold exposure in terms of really ice bath. So like, when Wim Hof training camps and things like that, the female body prefers to be warm because of our reproductive organs. So what is recommended is to, if you do like cold exposure, cold shower, absolutely fine. And also there is an option to do a cold bath up to 16 degrees Celsius, but not anything colder than that. So that's still pretty cool, you will still get the effects, you will get the endorphins, you will still have that contrasting effect from hot and cold.
Right.
If you do like a 16-degree, plunge and then go into the sauna, you still have that amazing contrast therapy, but it's not putting too much stress on the female body and on the reproductive organs. So this is something that is very, very important and needs to be talked more about in the space, as well as intermittent fasting. I know a lot of people love it. I have many friends who do it as well. In the science behind it, us women should fast very carefully because it's only beneficial for our body during some parts of the cycle, such as, actually, I didn't even think this would be true, but it's actually really good for us to fast during our during menstruation, because we have built, I guess, all this like storage of good foods, and during menstruation we can do longer fasts. If we want, we can even do a 24-hour fast and it won't be harmful for our bodies. But then, very, very important, so the first half of your cycle, you can do fasting up to menstruation up to 24 hours, but then follicular, I would say about max 16.
Right.
Very important. Once you go into luteal phase, so the last 2 weeks of your cycle, you should not really fast. You have your last meal at 6 p.m. and then you wake up around maybe 6, 7. You have your breakfast at 8. Like, that's the maximum, I would say, because you will feel more hungry, right? And you're supposed to eat. So women who intermittent fast for like 14, 16 hours during that phase, they're actually hindering their hormones. They're not doing their hormones a service and harming their body. So this is super, super important to know.
Right. And it's confusing because a lot of time women would think that why am I not being able to fast even for 12 hours when last week I was doing for 16? I mean,
Yeah.
what is this? Why am I being so hungry today? I mean, I probably haven't even worked out, but I'm so hungry. I'm just not being able to keep up with the fast. And this is why you need to understand your menstrual cycle and your phases throughout the month. So
For
important.
sure. And when you work out, when you're regularly working out, you will be more hungry and you need more fuel because your body is burning more calories all the time. So you need more like nourishing foods, more proteins. And this is another thing that us women, we need to really put more emphasis on, the importance of protein intake. Women were not really taught, oh, you should eat protein. It's almost like a taboo for women to eat more protein, right? But we need it it for gain our muscles and to like keep our muscles, because from age 30, women actually lose muscle very quickly if we
Right.
don't have enough intake of protein and resistance training. So this is super
Right.
important.
Absolutely, that makes so much sense. Thank you for sharing that. And it really does remind me of this, that many women that I know have been so comfortable going to the doctor and taking medication for their hormone health, or just even to regularize their menstrual cycle every month. But when it comes to protein, there's so much fear. Natural, like they'll ask 10 questions about, should I consume this much protein? Would it be good or not? But not so many questions to a doctor when it comes to medication, because they feel like, okay, now this I need to take. I don't have an option. Just so much fear around, even as natural stuff, as naturally available protein to us. And I feel like we definitely need to be more aware of this. And we can see a difference for ourselves in just a few weeks of making changes in a nutritional lifestyle. It does not even take that long. Start seeing the small changes within a few weeks itself, or how you make small changes in your lifestyle, in nutrition, right? So that was really amazing. Thank you for sharing that. And that brings us to the end of the episode today. As we conclude, do you have any last messages or thoughts to leave us?
Listen to your body, ladies. We have this amazing gut feeling for a reason, this intuition that women have, and your body is constantly speaking to you in small ways. The more you can learn to really listen to your body, the better choices you will make. One other thing that I haven't mentioned is your mental well-being. It's the most important as well. So find time to have a moment to rest, to lower your cortisol, because stress is, of course, the thing we want to, bad stress is the number one thing we want to avoid.
Absolutely. That's a beautiful message. Thank you so much, Sabrina, for being here today. I was so grateful to have you on the podcast. It was an amazing episode and super insightful to learn everything that you have done in your life, made the changes that made good health possible. And I hope that women listening to this can do that as well, because these were some very easy insights to ponder upon and to start including in your lifestyles. Thank you so much once again. And for the ones who don't already follow you, there'll be links in the description below. They can reach out to you, learn a lot more from you, and maybe possibly work with you in the future. So thank you so much once again for being here today.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. It's been a pleasure.